the hell?
Hey there. If you're here just for the fail, it is at the end of the video. You can skip ahead if you want. I promise it's there. But there is a lot more to this story. On August 2nd, 2026, I learned several lessons the hard way. I learned that it's hard to set a flag on fire. I didn't want to create a real hazard, so I didn't use any gas or chemicals, and I chose a torch lighter, which just kind of burnt holes, and a flame never caught. I learned how scary it is to even try and put yourself out there for something that you believe in. All my outspoken friends were too busy to help out, but since I told them I was going to do something, I knew it was important that I followed through. And so also to my wife, I want to say sorry. I hope you can understand why I didn't ask for help and support from you with this. I had really high and dramatic hopes and expectations, but I knew at least surface level this was going to be kind of disappointing. So I'm sorry for not being honest about everything that I did that morning. The last thing I learned is that it's really hard to get people's attention. And when you bomb from the start, it's really hard to keep going. I knew I wasn't going to be the next Greta Thunberg, and I knew going viral would be a real challenge. I knew that I have a small voice, but not one extra camera. No one was curious about my next sentence. Not one budge at a name drop. No one cared. I had even handmade my own little scroll that was able to unravel. And I got up high and I declared that I had a message. And I was dressed colorfully, and everyone still looked away. The last story that pushed me to do this was the story of the Guatemalan couple that were murdered and left in a sugarcane field in front of their 14-month-old daughter. The father was detained on his way to a roofing job by ICE and then deported. His wife, who had asylum status, was fleeing life in Guatemala because it was too dangerous for her and her children. But now with the family split and real possibility of ICE detaining or even deporting her as well, Glendy Marisol de la Cruz decided her best option was to take their 3 young daughters, quit her 2 jobs, and go back to the country she had fled, so that her family could be together and the father could be there for the family. I called on the Gobierno de Guatemala to find those responsible and hold them accountable for their crime. And I cried out that it was unfair that my abuelita passed away as a proud Canadian citizen and gave all 7 of her kids the opportunity and tools they needed to find success in foreign lands. And I'm a happy and healthy adult. But these 3 daughters of immigrants are now orphaned children. I condemned the government of the USA as well for greeting the war criminal and Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, with welcome and presidential motorcades to Lindsey Graham's funeral. He smiled and exchanged pleasantries and shared sorrow with Pete Hegseth and Marco Rubio, and a couple of other Nazis. But Nicolas Maduro got bagged and tagged and is having lunch next to Sean Diddy and in the corner away from Luigi Mangione. I also accused the US of funding genocide, which, by the way, tariffs are just another word for import tax. So let's say You want to buy a hockey stick and it's Canadian made, and say it's at Walmart and it costs $25. Trump tariffing that has now made it $37.50 for you. And after that extra $12.50, like for you, not me, because I'm Canadian, it's an import tax by him. Then that $12.50, goes through his proper channels, gets to the American government through the tax system, whatever. And then they give that money to Israel, and they say, hey, why don't you use this? Drop another bomb in an Iranian school or a Palestinian hospital. That's how tariffs work. It's an import tax, and that's what it's funding. So anyways, after saying all that, I pulled out the American flag, I held it, and I said that thousands, if not millions, of lives have been cut short or ruined by this flag and what it has represented in the last 10 years. And I listed the names of who this was for. I wrapped the flag around my scroll, and I tried anxiously to light a fire and get my money shot. There's just one catch. The person that I asked to record struggled to reopen my phone and maybe didn't quite understand I wanted everything recorded and not just the fire part. But honestly, I'm glad with how little I have to relive on camera. When I knew the show was over, I did as much quick damage as I could, threw it on the middle step, poured a bottle of water on it, and stomped on it a little before making my getaway. Wiping off my makeup, throwing on a stashed hoodie, and dumping my lighter and other accessories in the trash cans. So much effort. 3 whole days of planning. But at the end of the day, I didn't get beat up, and I didn't get arrested, even though at most I might have broken a bylaw or two. I did something crazy for what I believe in, and no one can take that away from me. I stood under my flag, in view of the United States, overlooking our great Niagara Falls, and I desecrated their flag. When these wars are over, when the Palestinian genocide is brought to an end, when the Trump family and the rest of the Epstein class is behind bars, and when we make it through this El Nino and the SpaceX AI global market crash, when we look back at this time, I may not be the only Canadian to have burnt their flag. And I won't have the most iconic shot, but I will always be the first. And it still wasn't as cringe as Jake Lang's performance. I also want to say one more sorry to the lady I bought the flag from. I told you I had family coming over from the States and wanted to make them feel welcome. But this was always my plan. I'm still happy to support local, and I hope that a time comes soon where Canadians cannot be ashamed or discouraged to buy or wave the American flag. Lastly, as part of my day, leaving the parking lot onto Clifton Hill, that's when I got the alert on my phone of a tornado warning. And by the time I got to the highway, the rain had come in. A storm that flooded some streets in less than an hour. And St. Catharines, which neighbors Niagara Falls, and where I grew up, got hit with their second round of basement floods in under a week. And on our civic holiday on Monday, the mayor declared a state of emergency. This is the first time that I know of that they've had to do that. And because I work for a dumpster company, I've been driving through my neighborhood the last week and a half. Same neighborhood I even delivered pizza for a year and a half. And every 4 houses, North End St. Catharines, has a dumpster. And while all the houses in between have all their garbage piled up on their driveways while they wait for a dumpster to become available from any company. You know what I haven't seen? Selfishness, anger, impatience, or division. Instead, I've seen a community and multiple cities come together. I've seen neighbors sharing dumpster space, and I've been greeted and thanked more than usual as everyone is aware of everyone else's situation. How busy the restoration and waste removal services are, and how their neighbors lost the same and often more than they have. More people are working together for each other than we have for a long time. And unless I can do it again or on purpose, I don't believe I summoned that storm. That's just how my day played out. And I think I was just lucky enough to stage my lone protest and get to my car in the nick of time. I followed nothing but my own heart for this. And I was gonna cut the video down to like 15 seconds, but since I made this portion so long, I'm gonna include all the footage that I got in all its cringe glory. But before I do have 2 final messages. One is from Mother Nature. I feel she is pissed and in pain. And she has been reminding us that with her tears, she can reach thousands of homes at a time. And I think what she is telling us is that we are in the middle of a climate crisis. Our winters already aren't the same like they used to be when I was growing up. And I have no idea what they're going to look like going forward. The second message is from me. And the real point of this stunt. And that is that we have a fascist problem. My strained voice could only reach a couple dozen, but it really reached no one. So here goes my mulligan. The American dream has become the world's nightmare. But the good news is, every nightmare comes to an end the moment you wake up. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Daughter of the Sea, Mrs. Sapphire Mako Sáenz Soares.
What the hell?
Esto es para los inmigrantes. This is for Renee Good and Alex Preddy.
What the hell? What is happening? This is going on TikTok?